The clatter of silverware at the Sunday brunch table was deafening. I sat quietly, pushing scrambled eggs around my plate. My mother, Diane, held court at the head of the table, her voice cutting through the chatter. "And what about you, Geraldine?" she asked, her tone sickly sweet. "Any real job prospects yet?" She turned to my aunt. 37, and still just floating. No career, no direction. A hot wave of shame washed over me. I saw my cousins look down, embarrassed for me. I kept my eyes on my plate, my knuckles wide around my fork. The familiar humiliation settled in my gut. "Oh, speaking of real jobs," Diane announced brightly, "I'm applying to Sterling & Pierce. Top-tier marketing firm. Finally, a role worthy of my experience." My head snapped up. Sterling & Pierce. The blood drained from my face. Later, alone in my car, I replayed the scene. It was a pattern. My college honors degree in communications? A nice certificate. My freelance project managing a local boutiques campaign? A cute hobby. Every attempt I made was minimized. For years, I had swallowed her criticism, internalizing the narrative that I was a disappointment. What my mother never knew, what the family never saw, was the work I did quietly. The network I had built online, the consulting for small businesses, the deep understanding of digital strategy I'd cultivated. My career wasn't a straight line on a corporate ladder. It was a mosaic, invisible to someone like Diane, who only valued titles. The pain was old and deep, a scar that never fully healed. The text notification lit up my phone 2 days later. It was from Maya, an old university friend and now a senior HR manager at Sterling & Pierce. "Geraldine. Hope you're well. We have a managerial role open in the brand strategy division. Hiring manager is keen to move fast. Do you know anyone stellar you could refer? Our referral program is generous." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. The universe had dropped a loaded opportunity into my lap. My mother's arrogant application, my secret connection. A flood of conflicting emotions hit me. I could ignore it. I could also refer her. The temptation to see her fail on her own was strong. But a calmer, more strategic thought emerged. I needed to handle this carefully. I called Diane, my voice neutral. "Mom, I heard about the opening at Sterling & Pierce. I have a contact there." Her response was a dismissive chuckle. "That's sweet, dear, but I'm sure my resume speaks for itself. I don't need a leg up from from you." The condescension was a physical slap. She launched into interview prep, boasting about her outdated tactics. I listened silently, the plan solidifying in my mind. This wasn't about sabotage. It was about letting reality be the teacher. I would open the door, but she would have to walk through it on her own merits. Her arrogance was her greatest weakness, and I wouldn't shield her from that truth. I introduced Diane to Maya via a carefully worded email, framing it as connecting two professionals. I subtly mentioned Sterling & Pierce's culture valued data-driven results and modern digital fluency. Diane dismissed the pointers. "It's all about presence and confidence, Geraldine. You wouldn't understand." I began sharing articles about their work with her, highlighting the technical skills they prized. She skimmed them, unimpressed. She started telling family friends the job was in the bag because of her inside track. The entitlement was staggering. Then, Maya called me. "Geraldine, your mother's application is ambitious. She's claiming lead on campaigns I can't verify. Can you shed any light?" I walked a tightrope with Maya. "She has broad experience," I said diplomatically. "I'd recommend a thorough skills assessment." I offered to help Diane prepare, suggesting we run through a mock interview. She agreed, but scoffed at my questions about analytics platforms and integrated campaign metrics. "They want a leader, not a number cruncher," she sniffed. I gave her direct feedback about the need for concrete examples. She waved it away. "You're overcomplicating it. Her willful ignorance was the first red flag, and I made sure my guidance was documented and ethical. I was building a case, not of malice, but of objective fact. Maya mentioned another candidate, Sam, a director from a rival agency. His portfolio was impeccable. I casually mentioned Sam's name to Diane. Overqualified, she declared instantly. They'll see he's too expensive, too set in his ways. They want fresh energy. Her hubris was breathtaking. She saw competition as beneath her, not as a benchmark. I quietly admired Sam's work online. He was exactly what Sterling and Pierce needed. The fair, merit-based system I believed in was starting to look like my greatest ally. Diane was weaving her own trap with every arrogant assumption. Diane's first Zoom interview was a disaster. I watched from the next room, my stomach in knots. She was asked about adapting a traditional campaign for social media. She rambled about brand aura and print legacy without a single concrete strategy. The panel's polite, frozen smiles were telling. Afterward, I called Maya. The cultural fit might be a challenge, I said gently. She's very traditional in her approach. Maya appreciated the candor. We're adding a practical case study round for all candidates. Your referral gets her in the door, Geraldine, but it doesn't carry her through. The system was working exactly as it should. Maya texted me. Thanks again for the referral. If she gets hired, you'll get a lovely bonus. The irony was rich. My referral was now actively prompting deeper scrutiny. My honest framing of Diane's strengths, networking, client presentation, and her weaknesses, digital integration, data aversion, was being used to craft a more rigorous interview process. Diane, oblivious, called me that evening. It's going perfectly, she trilled. I can feel it. I told your father to start planning the celebration dinner. The gap between her perception and reality was a canyon, and I stood silently on the other side. The stress was a constant hum. My husband, Leo, found me staring blankly at my computer late one night. Talk to me, he said softly. I poured it all out, the humiliation, the strategic dance, the guilt. He took my hand. Your value was never defined by her. You're the most capable person I know. This isn't about revenge. It's about letting the truth come out. His words were an anchor. He was right. This was about integrity, not retaliation. His belief in me reignited my resolve. I wasn't just Diane's underestimated daughter. I was a professional with my own power. Diane sent me her presentation for the final case study round. It was all flashy graphics and buzzwords, devoid of substance or a clear budget. I provided detailed notes in the document margins. What's the KPI here? How does this translate across channels? Consider the ROI timeline. She called, annoyed. You're nitpicking. It's about the big picture. I didn't rewrite a single slide for her. I simply asked questions she couldn't answer. Meanwhile, she posted a cryptic but boastful LinkedIn update, excited for new beginnings at a leading firm. #career move #next chapter. The digital breadcrumb was laid. At a cousin's birthday party, my brother pulled me aside. What's going on with Mom and this job? She's talking like she's already CEO. He looked skeptical. She mentioned you helped. I gave a small, non-committal smile. I made an introduction. The rest is up to her. He studied my calm face, seeing something he couldn't quite name. The family was beginning to sense the disconnect between Diane's boasts and reality. My silence and neutral demeanor were becoming a quiet counterpoint to her noise. The stage was slowly shifting. The email from Maya was direct. Geraldine, as her referral, we value your honest assessment. Off the record, how do you think Diane would handle the pressure of a fast-paced, data-centric environment? This was the pivot point. I composed my reply with care. I praised her resilience and people skills. Then, I wrote, to excel at Sterling and Pierce, she would need a significant willingness to adapt to new methodologies and a strong comfort with performance analytics, which may require some development. It was a professional death sentence, kindly worded. Maya replied, understood. We'll tailor the final assessment accordingly. The practical case study was a disaster. Diane was given real campaign data to analyze. She fumbled with the spreadsheet, dismissing the numbers as dry and trying to pivot back to her prepared slogans. The feedback from the hiring panel was swift and brutal, lacks analytical rigor. Strategy is not grounded in insights. Maya relayed this to me, adding, we need someone who can hit the ground running. Do you know anyone else, Geraldine? Someone with a hybrid strategic analytical mind? The question hung in the air, a door cracking open. I looked at my own career mosaic, the successful small business campaigns, the data-driven reports, the seamless project management. I took a deep breath and wrote to Maya. Having seen the role's requirements, I might know someone. Myself. My experience is non-traditional but deeply relevant. I've attached my portfolio for the new consulting lead position you posted. I sent it. Diane called hours later, her voice shrill. What is this? Maya asked me about your work. Are you trying to shadow me? The confusion in her voice was the first sign of her crumbling certainty. The next family dinner was tense. Diane held forth again. The final round is just a formality, she declared, avoiding my eye. I simply nodded, eating my meal. When my niece asked about marketing, Diane gave a vague answer. I gently stepped in. It depends on the goals. For instance, if you're trying to reach a younger audience, you'd look at engagement metrics on different platforms first. I gave a clear, concise example. The table listened. Diane's smile stiffened. I added, I've been helping a candidate refine their approach for Sterling and Pierce. It's all about matching your skills to their real needs. The implication landed softly, but it landed. Maya scheduled a call with me. Geraldine, your portfolio is impressive. It's exactly the kind of agile thinking we need for the consulting lead role. And your handling of your mother's referral has been incredibly professional. They saw it, my restraint, my ethics, my strategic mind. They weren't just considering me for a job, they were respecting my judgment. Meanwhile, Diane, trying to network, attended an industry mixer where a Sterling and Pierce manager mentioned, Geraldine's insights have been invaluable. She overheard it. The puzzle pieces in her mind began to move, forming a picture she didn't like. The final stage for Diane was a client simulation. She had to present a campaign to a panel acting as a tough client. I knew she'd reuse her flashy, substance-free presentation. I did not warn her. I sat in the observer section, invited by Maya. Diane began confidently, but the client panel immediately drilled down with specific, numbers-based questions. What's the projected cost per acquisition? How do these brand awareness metrics translate to sales? Diane floundered, her answers vague. Her confidence cracked visibly. I watched, my expression one of professional observation. The truth was performing perfectly without any help from me. She stormed into my home office later. You sabotaged me, she accused, face flushed. You gave them bad information. You made me look foolish. I remained perfectly calm in my chair. I gave them an honest referral, Mom. I opened the door. You prepared the presentation. You answered the questions. The client panel reacted to what you showed them. My calmness infuriated her further. You've always been jealous of my success, she spat. I sighed. HR has all the data from your interviews and the simulation. They'll make their decision based on that. Not on anything I said. The fight left her, replaced by a dawning, fearful suspicion. The official email from Sterling and Pierce arrived. It was addressed to me. Dear Geraldine, thank you so much for referring Diane Carter. Our thorough process, informed by your helpful insights, ensured we evaluated all candidates against our precise needs. It has saved us from a potentially costly mishire. We are grateful for your integrity. A second email followed, from the hiring director. Regarding the consulting lead role, we are very impressed. Are you available to meet to discuss an offer? I read them twice. The thank you for the referral was the ultimate irony. The offer was my vindication. Diane's fate was now sealed by her own performance. At my father's retirement gathering, Diane tried one last time. Well, Sterling and Pierce is clearly disorganized, she announced to a group. The process was much too long. I simply nodded, sipping my drink. My younger cousin then approached me. Geraldine, I'm starting a small online store. Can I pick your brain about marketing sometime? Another relative asked about social media for his business. I gave thoughtful, practical advice. They listened eagerly. Diane stood alone, her usual audience drifting toward me. Her dominance, built on bluster, was evaporating in the face of quiet, demonstrated competence. A week later, I sat in a sleek conference room at Sterling and Pierce. The head of the division slid a formal offer letter across the table. We need your kind of strategic mind, Geraldine. Someone ethical, smart, and who understands the landscape from the ground up. I signed the contract for the consulting lead position. Leo framed the first page. That evening, Diane called, her voice uncharacteristically small. They sent a rejection letter. The words were a whisper. The grand celebration she'd planned for herself had vanished. The reality she'd refused to see was now the only thing left. She came over, the anger gone, replaced by a hollow confusion. I don't understand what happened, she said, not looking at me. I spoke calmly, without malice. You assumed the title was the only thing that mattered. You dismissed the hard skills. You thought your way was the only way. Sterling and Pierce doesn't work like that. Success now is about adaptability, data, and humility to learn. She was silent, truly listening for the first time in decades. I referred you because you're my mother, I said. But I couldn't lie for you. Real careers are built on real work. The final blow was poetic. A formal letter arrived at Diane's house, thanking her for her interest but stating they had selected a candidate whose skills were a stronger match. She showed it to me, her hand trembling. The family knew. The bragging had led to a very public silence. I felt no joy in her pain, only a deep, quiet satisfaction. The system, aided by my unwavering honesty, had worked. Her arrogance had been her undoing. My integrity was my strength. The power dynamic in our relationship had irrevocably shifted on its axis. A month into my new role, Diane asked me for help. Not a favor, but advice. How do I get better at this? She asked haltingly. I handed her a list of online courses on digital marketing analytics. Start here, I said kindly but firmly. I can point you to resources, but you have to do the work. She nodded, accepting the materials. There was no grand apology, but in her eyes, I saw it, a newfound, reluctant respect. I had won not by fighting her on her terms, but by rising above them. My career, once mocked, was now my authority. The victory was complete, ethical, and deeply, personally mine.